Okay, it's Mr. Bray. I'm going to walk you through some of these two-step inequalities. So it asks you to solve and graph the inequalities. So that's what we're going to do. I'd like for you to, you can use the graph on here, the line graph, to show your work after you solve it. But I would like for you to solve on a separate sheet of paper. So I've attached a separate sheet of paper here, and I'd like you to do so as well. So I want you to do your work on the other side. So just like this. Number 1, 6 minus 2k is less than or equal to negative 2. So I just rewrote the problem, number 1, on the sheet of paper. And I'm going to show my work here. And I'm going to graph it on the other side. Okay, so this is a two-step inequality. 6 minus 2k less than or equal to negative 2. First thing I'm going to do is get rid of the 6 over here, so I can get minus 2k by itself. Those cancel out. Over here I have negative 2 minus 6, which is equal to negative 8. And then on the other side I have negative 2k. I'm going to switch to pen so it'll show up a little better. Alright, so I have negative 2k on the left side, negative 8 on the right side. My last step is to divide by negative 2, because the k here is being multiplied by negative 2. So the inverse operation, the opposite operation is from multiply is divide. So I'm going to divide each side by negative 2. When I do that, I get k by itself on the left side. And then on the right side, negative 8 divided by negative 2 is positive 4. However, since on this step here I divided by a negative, I have to use my inequalities rule of flipping the sign. So whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must flip the inequality. So my answer is k is greater than or equal to 4. So I'm going to graph that on the opposite side. So to graph it, again my answer is k is greater than or equal to 4. Okay, when I graph it, I'm going to go to 4 on the number line, right here, and my circle is going to be closed, a closed circle, because it's greater than or equal to. So my answer could be 4. So I'm going to color 4 in. I'm going to include 4 because it could be 4. The k could also be greater than 4. So I'm going to shade to the right. So my answer could be 4, so I shaded that in. But it could also be any number greater than 4. So I'm going to have a closed circle at 4, and I'm going to shade to the right. So that's number 1. Alright, number 2. Number 2 is negative 25. I'm just going to rewrite it on my separate piece of paper. It's greater than or equal to negative 6v plus 5. Alright. So I'm trying to get the v term by itself. So I want to get rid of this plus 5. So I'm going to do that by doing the opposite operation, which is to subtract 5 from both sides. Negative 25 minus 5 is negative 30. Bring everything else down. Now I have the v being multiplied by negative 6, so I'm going to do the opposite of multiply by negative 6, which is to divide by negative 6. Anytime multiply or divide, when you multiply or divide by a negative number, flip the symbol. So I divided by a negative here, so I need to flip the symbol according to my rule. So instead of v being less than, v is going to be greater than or equal to negative 30 divided by negative 6. This is positive 5. So my answer is 5 is less than or equal to v. And again, I know that because I divided by that negative and I had to flip the symbol, because that's the rule. So let's see how that would look on the graph. So my answer was v is greater than or equal to 5. So I'm going to find 5 on the number line, and I'm going to shade it in because it's greater than or equal to, so it could include 5, so I'm going to shade it in. My answer could also be greater than 5, so I'm going to shade everything to the right. V could be greater than 5, shade to the right, or equal to 5, shade in at 5. So closed circle, shaded to the right. That's what the graph should look like. Alright, next one has a fraction. Don't let that scare you. It's number 3. Negative 10 is less than or equal to 6 plus y over 2. Alright, so I'm rewriting on a separate piece of paper. I want to get the y by itself on one side, so I'm going to first get rid of this positive 6. I'm going to subtract 6 from each side. So I get negative 16 over here. And then y over 2 on the other side. So over here I'm trying to get y by itself. So the opposite of dividing by 2 is to multiply by 2.
Hey, just make one thing right. I've been here since 11.
And on the opposite side, do the same. So times 2. Over here is negative 32. Is less than or equal to y. This time I didn't have to flip the symbol because I multiplied by a positive number. If I would have multiplied by a negative, I would have had to flip the symbol. But since this is a positive 2, didn't need to do that step. So the final answer is y is greater than or equal to negative 32. Or you can say negative 32 is less than or equal to y. Now let's see what that would look like on the graph. So again, the answer was negative 32 less than or equal to y. Find negative 32 on the number line. It's a closed circle because your answer could include negative 2. But y could also be greater than negative 32, so you shade to the right. Again, closed circle because it's less than or equal to. Shade to the right because your answer could also be greater than negative 32. So that's what the line graph should look like. Alright, number 4. I'm running out of space here. Number 4. Alright, number 4 is 16 is less than negative 2n plus 6. Okay, so trying to get the n term by itself on one side. So I'm going to get rid of this positive 6 by doing the opposite, which is to subtract 6 from both sides. So you get 10 on one side is less than negative 2n. Okay, next step, trying to get n by itself. Right now the n is being multiplied by negative 2, so we're going to do the opposite, which is divide by negative 2 on each side. So we get n on one side greater than negative 5. Alright, I made a mistake here. Hopefully you can see what happened. If not, pause the video and try to predict what I'm going to say. I divided by a negative here, so I should have flipped the symbol. So this should actually be negative 5 is greater than n. Since I divided by a negative, I should have flipped the symbol. So be careful there. It's easy to get in a rush and miss that step. It completely changes the answer though. So my answer should be negative 5 is greater than n. Alright. Negative 5 greater than n. So that's the answer to this. On the graph, you would find negative 5. This is a greater than symbol, so we're going to have an open circle because your number cannot include negative 5. Your number is less than negative 5. Okay, so n is less than negative 5. Open circle at negative 5 because n doesn't equal negative 5. N is less than negative 5. Open circle at negative 5, shade to the left. Okay, last one. Number 5. So okay, this one is 38 is less than 3 minus 5q. Alright, the variable term is q, so we're trying to get q by itself on one side, so we're going to start by getting rid of this 3. So you do that by subtracting 3, because that's the opposite of positive 3. Do that to both sides, you get 35 on one side. It's less than negative 5q. Okay, now we're trying to get q by itself. The opposite of multiplying by negative 5 is dividing by negative 5. We are dividing by a negative here, so we have to flip the symbol. 35 divided by negative 5 is negative 7. And then on the right side we get q by itself. So that's the answer for number 5. Negative 7 is greater than q. Alright. On the graph, our answer is negative 7 is greater than q. So find negative 7. It's going to be an open circle because your answer does not include negative 7. Your answer, q, is less than negative 7. So your shading is going to go to the left. Alright, so I did numbers 1 through 5 for you. I'd like for you to do numbers 6 through 10. Yeah, so hopefully those examples will be helpful to you. Each one of these problems on the right side, there's another one on the left side that looks like it. So these should be able to help you. For example, number 6 looks like number 2. Number 7 looks like number 3. Number 8 looks like number 3. Number 9 looks like number 2. Number 10 looks like number 4. Alright, so each one of these problems on the right side, I did ones similar to those on the left side. So use these examples that I just gave you to help you with these problems, number 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 on your homework. And good luck.